Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Birds. I have a very special guest with me today. She's an illustrator and designer. Please welcome Natalia Cardona. Hello, Natalia. Welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
You are absolutely welcome. So I want to go ahead and start this interview off by asking where you're originally from and how did you get into the realm of art?
Yeah, so I am originally from Colombia, South America.
Mhm.
And I guess like my parents or my family in general in Colombia too, I didn't have like such like big experience with art from the get-go.
Mhm.
But I will say that even though my mom is a lawyer and my dad too, which are like completely removed from the art world, my mom, since she was able to take some time off to raise me and my sister, she was very crafty all the time. So she used to do like our Halloween costume. She always do like our like assignments for school and whatnot, like our party decorations. Everything was handmade in our house. So
Mhm.
she like kind of instilled that curiosity in me of like doing things with my hands and like have that appreciation with art. And I do remember from like a very young age, she was always very like open to taking me and my sister to different like kind of like fringe intelligence development like
Right.
schools and that kind of thing. So I did have like that opportunity to play with paint from a very young age and whatnot. However, as I was saying, like in Colombia, it's very rare, at least when I was growing up, to have like an art curriculum at home, like in school per se. So even though I didn't have like the opportunity to have art classes from a very young age, as I said, my mom was very open to like taking me to any extracurriculars, and I always asked her to like take me to paint classes, so she did. And like she was very like super supportive about that aspect of my life. So when it came to the time to choose what career to take,
Mhm.
or like what career path to take when I graduated from high school, I guess I decided to go for industrial design
Right.
because that was, I guess at the time, the closest thing I could find to like an outlet for me to do something related to art, but also something functional. Because
Right.
as I said, like there was not very a lot of representation about illustration in Colombia. Like at that point, I had no idea that was a profession and that people actually live from it.
Right.
So that was like my kind of detour that I took
Mhm.
at that point in my life. So I guess I started with design, and that took me from there, I guess. And I did realize when I was studying industrial design that graphic design was sort of the realm in which I was more happy, and I used to like really enjoy the like figure drawing classes and more so than like the product design aspect of things.
Mhm.
So I started doing like focusing all of my projects towards graphic design. And that's how I like slowly started understanding that illustration was actually like a real career field, and that there's like a lot to do with that. So yeah, like pretty much that's how I started like getting my way into art, and then I eventually ended up in illustration.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, who are like your favorite artists that you look at? Like, who's like the art that you're very like inspired by?
Yeah, so I guess like from I don't know, like very early, I obviously was very inspired by I guess traditional art. Like I always looked out for I don't know Van Gogh, all the impressionists like Matisse, like everything that had to do with very like texture and color. More so when I was in doing my bachelor's degree, I was very interested in all the design like movements of Art Nouveau and arts and craft, like very related to nature. And I guess like now that I was like getting more acquaintance with illustration, and more so like I guess 2015 or so, I started diving more into like social media, and I started like obviously understanding what illustration was all about, and I started figuring out like what illustrators were like kind of like my influences. And also like one of the biggest influences in that aspect was is an illustrator from Colombia called Lorena Alvarez. I don't know if you have ever like heard from her, but her style was like, I guess, something that was subconsciously always in my mind. It was funny because, as I said, when I was a kid, I was very close to like crafting. So I remember that I used to do a lot of like craft books, I guess, and just mood boards just for fun, I guess. And it was funny because I realized like years later, after I used to do all that by myself, that a lot of the like cutouts I used to do for magazines, most of the images were from her illustrations that were present in this like tween magazines that I used to
Right.
buy all the time with my allowance. So like it was really cute when I realized, like, I don't know, 6 years or so after the fact, that, oh wow, like she has been my influence since I was like 11. And I had no idea that she was doing professional illustration until the point that I understood what professional illustration was. I don't know, when I was already like 22 or something.
Right, right.
So that was like a cute, like kind of like full circle moment for me. And I guess like going from that, some of my other like influences, I guess, from Colombian illustrations would be Paola Alvarez and Alejandro Mesa, because as I said earlier, when I started like understanding what illustration was all about, them two were kind of like my mentors in a way, because they were starting to create a collective of illustration in Bogota, which is Colombia's capital. And they were kind of like the ones that teach me what illustration was all about. And they were very supportive of me. Like they taught me my first like class of like digital illustration back in, I don't know, 2016 or so. So I've always been super grateful to them, and they're like a great source of inspiration in my work. And I guess other than artists, I will say my work is very inspiring in nature, my relationship with it, because when I was growing up, my parents live in this very rural area in Colombia. So pretty much all my like childhood I spent like just running through like bamboo forest and like seeing like the squirrels and the birds and just like having a lot of free time in nature. So that's very predominant in my work.
Yeah, because like with me, I'm like inspired by like Kirby Rosanes. He's like a illustrator from the Philippines, and he does like these huge illustrations where like there's a ton of stuff going on, and that's what inspired my work. Because like yeah, I like having like a lot of things going on. You know, same thing with another artist that I recently looked at. He's from South Korea, and his name is Mr. Mizan. I think that's
Mr. I haven't checked that out.
Yeah, and he's like an NFT artist, and he does like these colorful illustrations, like these crazy illustrations, like talking about like pretty much about like real life issues about like the food industry and different things of that nature. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and with that, also I get inspired by Jean-Michel Basquiat, also Keith.
Definitely, I can see that.
Yeah, Keith Haring, because they had such a distinct style.
Right.
And it's really, really cool and very, very like, colorful and things like that. So, and plus it sends a message, even though, you may not be able to relate to it, it still sends a message some type of way.
Definitely. It's very expressive in that way, for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I want to get into art school. So you went to art school you went to school in Colombia for industrial design, and you went to SCAD for illustration here in America. So I want to get into a little bit of the difference between going to school like in Colombia versus here in the US. So if we could talk about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I would say the major like difference, as I was saying earlier too, is the fact that in Colombia we like the art world was very narrow, at least when I was like studying back then. And there was not like very like the fields were very small and kind of like narrow-minded, obviously, because in Colombia we don't have a very developed like industry in the visual arts, which is very different here. So I guess like in there I did had a very like good, I guess, formation, in the sense that the university that I went to was very focused on you being like going outside the school and creating your own business.
Mhm.
which I feel that SCAD is very focused on you like getting out of school and like not so creating your own business, but like joining the workforce of the field that you're getting prepared for, right?
Right.
So I guess like that was like a good mixture, because like even though Colombia didn't like the Colombian education didn't have that big of array of like possibilities for our field, it did give me like a lot of tools for like having that mentality of like I can be my own boss and I
Right.
can create my own like whatever rules that I want to do with whatever tools that I have right now.
Right.
So it was very cool, kind of like coming to the US and seeing like obviously having that like actually traditional formation in illustration, which what I was lacking a lot because I didn't know any of the basics of like, I don't know, like conceptual things or history, and
Mhm.
stuff like that, which I really much appreciated. And I kind of like combine it all with my industrial design background. So like I started kind of like taking my own, like making my own take on illustration and what illustration meant for me and how to apply it to the things that I already knew. So I guess like also the coolest thing about coming to America, especially to SCAD, it was that since the school is like an art school, and I mean you went there,
Yeah,
it's like
we both went there.
it's like like in Colombia, obviously being in like the
Right.
design faculty, I felt like the weirdo, right? Because we were like everybody was studying medicine or lawyers or whatever, and we were like the
Mhm.
weirdos in the middle. Uh, but in SCAD, like I could totally embrace that weirdness and like
Right.
feed from it and like have all these peers that were like super like-minded, and like obviously I was like super overwhelmed like going there because everybody was so freaking talented and I felt that I didn't know how to draw anything. So and obviously the language barrier was very hard for me at the beginning, but then I just like totally embraced it. And it was very beautiful for me to have the opportunity to study with so many people from different countries and understand that we all have like a context from when we are from. And I started seeing kind of like traits of like obviously, I don't know, my like former students from China had like a very specific flair to their work, or from Ukraine, like they have a very specific like flair from their work. Same with like I started finding Colombians in my own faculty. So
Mhm.
like it was very like charming to see that we all like brought something different to the table and
Right.
how we could all like kind of like feed from that and like have that, I don't know. It was like a very magical moment bubble thing that
Right. Right.
happened in
Yeah.
SCAD that obviously like not only encouraged me to kind of like obviously explore all these new skills that they were teaching me, but embracing my own voice. And I guess
Right.
the biggest gift that like my professors at SCAD gave me was like understanding that I didn't have to draw perfect. I needed to convey a message that was from myself,
Right.
like
Right.
embracing that inner story and like I don't know, putting that in the world as art. And it didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be you. So I guess that was like really cool. And obviously the fact that SCAD has so many, I don't know, places and spaces in there and so many tools that you can like literally go nuts and collaborate with so many different artists and all the different faculties was like very eye-opening. And I think I keep that like through my practice right now. It's like always reaching out to people and asking for feedback and just create that community within our field.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. That was the beauty, that's the beauty about SCAD, because you have everybody that's nothing, it's nothing but creatives. People people are just like you, like trying to, find their way and find their own style and things like that. And there's some people, of course, they didn't know exactly at first what they wanted to do, but eventually once they got into, how you do like foundation course, like once you get into foundation course, you have an idea of like, okay, this I want to do, this I want to major in. You know what I mean? And the thing is, when I got into
Exactly.
SCAD, I've always wanted to get into illustration. That was something I've always wanted to do. But with the minor, I did do printmaking at first. I was like, It's okay. And then and then I mean it was a good experience, but I think fibers attracted me more
Oh yeah.
because you play with more mediums and things like that. So my major was a BFA in illustration and a minor in fibers. So that was the thing with that. But yeah, the beauty about it is you can express yourself, any way
Yeah,
you want to without feeling judged or discouraged. That's the beauty about
exactly.
SCAD.
Yeah, I very much felt that. And I totally agree with you with fibers because I did take like some of my electives. I chose to go with fibers and also printmaking. So it's funny you mentioned that because I really love both. And it was
Yeah.
so cool to like be able to play around with textiles and at the same time with like all these inks. And like
Yeah.
now, like I feel that all that knowledge is like meshed in my brain with design illustration, fibers, printmaking, and like we can
Mhm.
make completely crazy things out of it, so it's really fun.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Now, in terms of your art style, how could you describe your art style?
Damn, that's like a really good question. I don't know, I guess I would say it's kind of like a mixture between whimsical, like childhood art mixed with psychedelic, like crazy dreamland. I don't
Mhm.
know. Because I guess at the beginning I was very much like, no, yeah, it's like very like kid lit like art style, but there's a very like I don't know, like I wouldn't say like specifically spiritual, but very like kind of like higher self. Like I don't know, I
Right.
feel like the more I try to find my style and like what's my work about, I have realized that my work is like super connected to emotions. And I think that's what I tap into when I create. And that's what I try to convey. Like not so like a very concrete message, but more so like the feelings that I'm like trying to express with my work. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I've been trying. That's what I've been feeling lately. That's all about like, I don't know, the feeling that I feel when the sun comes and touch my face. Like that's kind of like very abstract emotions that I'm trying to convey with my work, I guess.
Yeah. I like how like your work, like how I said before we started, it shows that essence of like positivity and happiness. You
Yeah,
know, it's like kind of like that meme, like rise and like rise and shine, you know what I mean? you know,
totally.
but yeah, that's what it reminds me of. And I like how you use a lot of bright colors, the
Yeah.
blues, the pinks, the aquas. It really conveys that positivity, that happiness within your work.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel that that's also something that I really embrace from Colombia and my upbringing there. It
Mhm.
was funny because when I went to SCAD, like I had to stay away from home from a long time. So when I finally had the opportunity to go back, it was after I started having like a very deep exploration of my art, like a very like in the very early stages, obviously. But when I went back home, I was like, damn, like obviously I'm like using all these colors because they're all here, like the sky looks that way, the flowers in my mom's like house, they're like this crazy magenta, and I don't know, the grass is like hella green or like super like lush forest. That's what I paint all the time. Like I'm always painting the sun because the sun is always there. It's
Right.
like it was really pretty going back and like understanding that's I don't know, very like inner kind of like work that I was doing in SCAD through my art. It was obviously kind of like a remembrance of where I come from and what I want to bring to this country as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Now I want to get into like the business side of art. So what is your whole piece of advice for someone who wants to own their own art business?
Yeah, well, for me, it's been, I guess, as I said, I had that kind of like, I don't know, inspiration from when I was in school in Colombia to go ahead and do it. I will say that it's a lot of work, and to be prepared to wear a lot of hats. Like I
Mhm.
actually, when I was graduating from my master's, my thesis, it's a paper about how to be your own, like create your own business as an illustrator and what everything entails. So if you want, I can pass you the link to like put in the notes, because it pretty much like a description of everything, not only on like the business aspect, but also in the personal way. Because I feel that obviously you have to understand that making art is what makes us like super like happy, and that's where we like, I don't know, it's the source where we create all this like things. But obviously, when you are trying to make this a business, you have to understand that you're not only going to be all the time creating art, but you have to like do things like be your own photographer and be your own marketing expert and be your own like social media expert, and knows about taxes, know about like accounting, know about a lot of things that obviously when you're like, oh yeah, I want to be an artist and I want to like make a business out of it, like I guess we only think that it's gonna be all art. But obviously it entails like so much work. And I will say that another thing that I do talk a lot about in my thesis is that one of the biggest piece of advice, I guess, is to always, like, I don't know, be like very greedy in a way that like always keep like pursuing that dream that you're trying to achieve, and like always like kind of chop it in very small pieces. That way, like you're not discouraged by like this big picture of where you want to go, and more so like kind of like go baby steps like on it, because obviously like right now I feel like very happy where I am in a way that the Nati from 2015, like she dreamt to be here right now, like and be what I am right now. So like it's very beautiful to know like at that point I never ever dreamed to be in this position. And now that I am, I see that even though I was very discouraged at first, like all those years in preparation to get at this point were like obviously made possible by that grit and that like inner fire of like wanting to create something for myself. Because obviously at that point, like I feel that I was not so like, I guess, talented or like an art genius like at all. But I did have passion, I had like idea of what I wanted to become, and I had that like kind of like gap in between. I'm here and I want to become this, and how do I like join that gap, and that was like obviously just pure discipline and like getting out after like feeling that I can't do this and just do it again, kind of thing. And I guess the other part that I also talk in my thesis about a lot is that obviously none of this is possible if we don't have like a good approach to our mental health and our physical health, and how we can like sustain all that in between of trying to make a business out of something that is so precious and so personal and so magic that it's our own art, because at the end of the day, we're always putting ourselves in the line, and like we get burned out, we get tired, and like where do the inspiration come from if we're feeling that way, So I will say very broadly, like the three things for me is like grit, like taking care of yourself, and obviously understand that you're going to be doing a lot of things and a lot of other stuff other than art.
Yeah. I like how you brought that up, because of course, I think people don't realize, with us as artists, that we have to wear, like how you said, we have to, wear different hats, or like, how one of my teachers from SCAD said, you're juggling cats. So, so yeah, you have to be your own photographer. You have to market yourself. You gotta, maintain orders and, things of that nature, to maintain a business. And, I definitely agree with the whole thing with maintaining mental health, because, the thing that, I know people push this hustle culture, like you got to hustle hard, you got to work hard and all this stuff. But it's like, how do you maintain a work ethic of some sort without maintaining your mental health, without maintaining your overall health?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I guess like that was something like a bad, not super bad, but like a bad thing about SCAD was that like you need to hustle all the time. And if you're not like literally working your ass off, like, I don't know if say that. But anyways, if you're not working all the time, like you're not gonna achieve it. And yes, but no, like
Mhm.
that's like at least for me, I have like literally have to do so many years of therapy to understand that like my production doesn't define me. And I have like had to put limits to myself and like boundaries with my work because obviously I love doing what I do, but I have like literally had to make myself understand that I can't work during the weekends. I can't work past like 7 p.m. or so, you know, like. And now I guess like having my husband like now like a little family here, it's kind of easier for me to like be very like, okay, you need to maintain these boundaries because you have
Yeah.
somebody in your life that you need to spend time with, you know, and that's super important. And I feel that that has like made my mental health like way better compared to school because I was like, when I was in SCAD, I was literally like living and breathing art like 24/7 every day. And that was not sustainable, like at all. Like at some point, I was just wanting to quit everything and just like stop doing it because it was too harsh on my body and my mind. And now that I have like a better relationship with it, I feel that I feel more happy to come back every Monday and like work, you know, and just have like a more healthy schedule around it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. As long as you have like a healthy schedule, and it's not saying like how you said, like we're not saying you can't grind and you can't, put in the work to get to where you want to
Right.
be. We're just saying
Exactly.
like, it can be, too much. That's the thing. So you don't want to put yourself through too much. Of course, work hard and do what you can, but of course take breaks, take care of yourself first, because you want to maintain that work ethic and plus stay alive. So that's the
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the thing with that. Now I want to get into copyright and licensing. So how important is understanding copyright and licensing?
Yeah, well, that's like very, very important, obviously, because that's, I guess, a realm in which everything can get very weird and murky, especially
Mhm.
when you're starting to work with clients. So I would say, like, always be aware to, again, with the wearing many hats, like, if you're gonna take on any project, be very mindful of like always having an agreement and like understanding what are the I don't know, specs of every project and how are you gonna profit from it? Because like obviously, like whenever you're trying to price a project, it could completely vary in regards of like what the client wants to keep in terms of your copyrights, you know.
Mhm.
So obviously, it's very different for you to price a project that is going to be a work for hire that the brand is going to keep all the rights to it, whereas it's different if they want to like license your work and give you royalties out of it, you
Mhm.
know. So in that sense, like obviously it's very tricky, and also when you're starting, it can, I don't know, it can be like very trial and error, obviously. It
Yeah.
happened to me. Like I it was kind of like a sad experience. I guess like pretty, I don't know, bittersweet in a way, because it happened to me with a Colombian brand. Again, because Colombia is like a very kind of like undeveloped industry in this kind of like field. The the practices for like paying people and understanding all those terms are very like different than here. And here people are more professional about it, at least that I have
Mhm.
seen. But in Colombia, it happened to me once that I was doing a project with a company, and they wanted me to do like pattern design for their products. And they basically said, well, we agreed to have like a project in which they will pay me for royalties. But obviously, when I was doing the agreement, that everything sounded very good. I was like very like that was a brand that I was like always had looked up, and I really wanted to collaborate with them. So I was like super happy to be part of it. And I was just getting out of SCAD, so I was like saying yes to any project pretty much.
Mhm.
But the downside of it was that when I realized that what we had agreed to was only for them to like pay me for the royalties of every sale of every product, but they didn't include anything in regards to what they're gonna pay me for the actual hours that I have to create those designs, you know?
Right.
So like I basically got screwed in terms that they didn't put any of that in the agreement whatsoever. And I didn't realize it until like after the fact, you know?
Right.
So that was like very deflating in a way, because like obviously it was a project that took me like, I don't know, 2 months of my time, and we
Right.
worked really hard for it. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was really nice. I still get royalties from it. So I guess like in that sense was like very bittersweet, and it gave me like just a bad taste in my mouth of like, I don't really want to collaborate with them anymore. And if anybody like give me like ask me if it will be good for them to work with them, I'm like, just be wary about these things and ask for like a better compensation, because I'm very like open to always be very direct with my clients, and I'm not like afraid to ask for like what it's right for me, not just for me but also for the next person that is going to come to them, because obviously these brands will like dazzle you with the idea to be part of them, but at the end of the day it's like, is it worth it? Because like that's not right, you know? And like that could happen to anybody, especially when we're like starting and we're very excited and eager to like jump into a project. So like
Right.
always be very aware of that, and like never be afraid to ask your peers of like how much they got paid for another project similar to yours, so like you can compare with like that kind of thing. And I feel that at least with my friends and like the community that I have built in Instagram, especially, like everybody's very open to sharing that kind of information. And I feel the more we share it and the more we're more open to like communicate that kind of stuff, like the whole industry can work better. So definitely copyrights and licensing, very important to like get a hold of that. I'll say the Graphic Art Guild, it's like a good book to have around, because they have like a lot of information of like how to price your project and whatnot. Obviously it's very general, it'll be better to like be very specific when you're trying to do that kind of stuff, but a good like springboard, I'll say, about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you brought up the understanding of pricing, because I think that's very, very important. And especially with, not only just with us as illustrators, but also with people who do different types of art. Oh, excuse me. People who do different types of art. I almost knocked off my microphone. But yeah, but that's very important in terms of understanding pricing, because especially with any type of art, you have to understand your worth and your value. And that's like, for me, like not only do I do illustrations, but I do nails. I do pressing nails. So I'm going to charge what I'm worth. And, it's important to not sell yourself short when you're creating a work of art, because it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of materials, a lot of,
Definitely.
just a lot of work, especially if somebody wants something very detailed. So that's the thing.
Absolutely. And in that you have to also take in consideration like how much you have to put on taxes, or like how much your education was, because obviously if you have student loans you have to pay those, and like
right,
it goes and on and on. And again, another hat, like
another hat,
the accountant hat and like the lawyer hat, and it's like it's always good to have somebody that you can like ask for like help.
Right, exactly.
Situations too, because that's the other thing I talk a lot, that I used to talk a lot about in my thesis, is like, yeah, you need to wear all these hats, but also create a community around you of creatives, not only illustrators, but like people that can assist you and that you can like go and ask them for like their help and their insights about different things that you might need along the way.
Yeah, most definitely. Now I want to switch gears and talk about children's book illustration. So what has been your whole process in terms of like creating like a children's book type illustration?
Yeah, that was like, I guess my first complete illustration book that I did was for a editorial in Colombia. I think the publishing house is called Planeta, and they called me about this very cute kind of like poem book about this Uruguayan artist, and they wanted to do like the version for Planeta for that. And I got that contact, I guess, through my sister because the art director used to be her teacher. And again, all the connection thing, it's always good to have.
Right.
Uh, so she connected me with her. And after that, we basically, like, the process was, I guess, very straightforward, similar to what SCAD, like, kind of trained us for. She gave me the brief. She gave me, like, very specific instructions of, like, kind of like the look and feel for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we started working with the script. And based on the script, I gave them like sketches of like the full story book for the storyboard for the book, and kind of like a dummy, just line work, very loose sketches. After that was approved, we obviously started working on color comps. And then from that, once everything was approved by the art director and the graphic designers, we started working on the final art. And obviously during the final art, there were kind of like small adjustments to do for text placement, or if we wanted some of the characters to be more expressive or whatnot. And then after everything was finalized, I pretty much gave the whole like files to them for
Mm-hmm.
them to like finish the all the graphic part of the book, putting all the text, creating all the legal pages, and the I had to design also the what's the end pages, I guess that's the name for that.
Mm-hmm.
And we designed the cover as well. They did most of the text treatment. Honestly, I didn't have to like dive too much into that, but it was a really cool project. Honestly, that was also one of my first projects, like going out from school to take on, which was very like rewarding to have like an actual book made from me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really like the author as well. She's like very amazing. So it was like a really cool combo. I also never had like direct contact with the author. It was all through the art director.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was like a very like nice experience. It took a while to get the book like physical, but once it was published, like we got like our copies and whatnot. My mom was like over the moon. Like literally everybody in my family went to the bookstore and got the book, and it was just like so cute. Like now, like even my like the I guess my not my cousin's sons, I don't know what's the name for them, but anyways, like they read their books to like their little kids, and
Oh,
they
wow.
send me pictures of that, and it's like adorable. I love that part of it, like when you can actually hold the product in your hands. um so it was like a really good experience, and I had the fortune to have the connection with the art director because she was like very open to like whatever I wanted to like insert my vision on it. She was
Right.
very specific with the brief. She was very like um on point with all her feedback. Like we didn't have like any problems at all
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, which I really much appreciate. And I don't know, the more I work with clients, like I have I really appreciate when people just like literally tell me like, we trust you, just go do it, do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I feel that I'm doing something right.
Oh, right.
uh, so that was really nice, and that's like a contact that I still like go back to her, and we have worked on different other like titles, which has been like really cool. And at the moment I do have a literary agent, and she like takes like charge of all my projects here in the state. And hopefully one day I can publish my own like book, like written and illustrated by me. I will really like to write my own like poem book, like kind of like an illustrated. um I don't know if for kids, but for all ages. I don't know. I like feel that honestly my whole library is children's books, and they're like underrated for adults because they have like the most precious emotional intelligence like content, and I love them. Like everybody should read like children's books in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, children's books are really like fun to read. I have this one book I think it's called, I was looking at my bookshelf because I have a book called Dolly. So it's a book about, I guess, Salvador Dali as a kid and
Oh,
these tall elephants with the long legs, and and he found a key lifting up the ocean,
uh,
and books like that. I think that's really my favorite book because I'm also inspired by Salvador Dali. But I like how
yeah,
you touched on like how you want to make your own children's book, because that's the same for me. Like, make my own children's book down the line, or make like my own coloring book, because that'd be
yeah,
really cool.
same.
Yeah, and
I
so
love coloring books.
yeah, so I want to get into also publishing, like how important is to like find publishing in terms of like children's books, if you want to do a coloring book or what have you, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I guess like nowadays, like I guess you don't really need a publishing house per se. Like I have seen a lot of people just self-publish their own things, especially if you want to do like coloring books and whatnot. Like you can just find like a manufacturer, obviously, like start with like a small run of like the title, I guess, and try to sell it like through your own like website or like through your own platform. But obviously, like having that extra of like adding an agent to the things, especially I've seen with books and in the States per se,
Mm,
it does help because obviously the agent will be very knowledgeable in knowing the rates and like really vouch for you to get paid what you deserve to be paid for. And obviously they have like all the context in the world to like land your book in the hands that are like the most um I don't know, the better for your title as well. Also, if you have a literary agent, they will definitely help you polish your script and give you notes and like the dummy for the book, which is very helpful if you're trying to do that. I've been working with her on like a manuscript that I was writing with a friend of mine, and we're still in the works with that because it's like a very long process, honestly, and they're just like very long like projects, I guess. So
mm,
with books, like I'm just taking my time and kind of like when I feel that my style and like the story that I want to tell are getting to the point that are like very ripe, like then I think that will be time for us to share the scripts with like all the publishing houses. But obviously, like I wouldn't get discouraged just if you can't access to those things, because obviously with the internet you can like get your products to like literally everybody that you want.
mm.
But it does help if you want to like hardcore getting to the book industry,
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
to like have that kind of like help with a literary agent.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Now, I want to get into like your favorite art mediums. So, what has been like your favorite art mediums, or like any graphic programs that you like using?
Ooh, well, I guess like I am always jumping in between digital and traditional art. So I will say in the digital realm, purchasing an iPad with an Apple Pencil like literally changed my life. I don't know if they're like overrated or not, but
Mm,
holy cow, like it changes the way that I approach like digital illustration 100%. It's so fun, and I use Procreate mostly in my iPad, and like pretty much I use the brushes that the program came with it, and I also use some of tipped up brushes that it's actually from a company from some people that live here in Oregon, and
mm,
they have really cool textures. I love working with, I guess I approach digital very much like I approach my traditional art. I'm really interested in like different textures and kind of like emulating how paint looks or how like color pencil looks into my digital like work, because I don't like the, at least for me, like I don't like the very finished. I'm kind of like more appreciating and embracing like the imperfections more so lately.
right.
Um, so in that sense, I guess with traditional media, what I mostly love working with at the moment is gouache for paintings, acrylics, and I've been like loving working with wood. I did these like last year,
Mm,
because I met here in Portland, there's like a really famous artist. His name is Mike Bennett. And we have become really close friends. He's amazing. Like the work that he does for the community is just like mind blowing. And he's the sweetest person ever. And he works on these like very large cutout pieces, kind of like
mm,
cartoonish, and they're very educational for kids. He has done like zoos and dinosaurs and all kinds of things. But I basically like reach out to him because during the winter in 2020, he was doing a project and calling for artists. And I was like, I really want to try painting like over wood because I've never done that. And he was looking for really large scale. And I usually go like, I used to like paint very small, kind of like, I guess the bigger ones will be like those two. So like getting out of paper and jumping into wood was like my brain just exploded literally. It was like the funnest thing I've ever done. So right now I'm trying to get into murals actually.
ooh.
So hopefully this month I'm gonna start painting my first mural, because since I did that, I just been craving like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, the other day I was experimenting with foam core instead of wood, and that also gave like a very, it looked like wood, just that it was like very light. And
Mm.
obviously I had to spend a bunch of time like priming it and whatnot, but experimenting with different like media has been really fun. And I guess the other thing that I really like that I kind of like start experimenting here in Portland is risograph. I don't know if you have seen that kind of like print method,
Mm-mm.
but it's kind of like a Xerox machine, but the process inside is very similar to what happens in screen printing.
Mm.
So everything is very like limited color palette, but it's super textured. Like it has like a really, really cool texture, and the inks are all like translucent. So you can like kind of like layer colors and get more colors out of that. So that has been like really cool. Also like playing around with it, and that you can work a lot with digital painting and like printing in Reso and kind of like merge this like handmade with digital in a way. And that has like influenced a lot of my work lately too.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. I work with like a fan designer. Getting back into Illustrator because and this this crazy thing because when you go to SCAD, you have free access to all the programs.
Oh my God, I
When you
missed
get
that.
out, it's all you have access to it for 1 year. And you gotta pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like Illustrator, affinity designer. I like working with acrylic. In the nail sector, I'm a nail artist, so like I work with like
Oh my gosh, that's
uh
so cool.
with gel. I do paint, I do art with acrylic paint. But I'm getting into I'm planning to get more into doing like working with like gel polish to do like nail art and things like that. So that's just my whole spectrum of favorite mediums that I like. And so I want to get into the whole thing with art. Like, where do you see art going like in the next like 5 to 10 years? Like, what's your take on the progression of art as well?
Oh, well, I guess like I've seen a lot of, I don't know, influence with social media and with the internet, obviously. So I will say that art, I don't know, like just as thing as looking us right now, I feel that art is gonna start getting more and more into the digital realm.
Mm,
And I've seen that obviously, at least with my personal experience with Instagram, like that kind of platforms is where artists have like free range to grow their audience like really massively.
right.
Um, and obviously that goes again to the many hats. Um,
Hmm.
Fortunately or unfortunately, like we have been pushed into not only becoming artists but also content creators,
Right.
which can be a pain in the butt sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel that obviously it has its pros and cons. I've been trying to enjoy the content creator part lately and like not feel as if so much of a task, but most just like a fun thing to like a fun process to document my work more so and
Right.
like kind of share my life. Um, than anything else. So I would say that obviously like social media is gonna be like way more present in art in the next couple like years, and I don't know. So like that. I've also seen a lot of the NFT, I guess, presence in art. I'm not
Right.
super versed in that, so I can't really like tell how's that gonna pan out.
Mhm.
I guess like with that, I do get like very concerned, I guess, with like the carbon footprint of like how art is going to be treated in the future, and how that's going to affect like the like climate change and whatnot, and the usage of energy. But that's me not like knowing a lot of it, you know. There's probably going to be like a way to approach that it's not so very bad for the environment. um
Mhm.
and I do hope that art keeps being like this physical thing as well, because I do enjoy a lot of that. Like I
Right.
do enjoy like the tactile part of it, and like being able to go to a gallery. So like as much as I do appreciate the internet and like all the accessibility that brings, and all the visibility that brings to artists, I do hope that art still be like this physical realm of things and experiences, you know. More so like I guess with books, like you have the ebooks, but you still have the books, and
Yeah,
you
the
can go to
physical.
the library and smell the book, you know. So I hope that it keeps like going into this digital realm, but we still can be present in the physical aspect of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it should be a maintaining of a balance where we have
Yeah.
still traditional, but it's also a side of it being, digital as well. And, the thing of what with NFTs, I feel like NFTs are kind of new. I
Yeah.
haven't been well versed in NFTs either. I have a slight idea of what it is, but of course, I got to do more research about it. But with
Same.
NFTs, like I feel like it's still pretty fresh. And I
Right.
think it's going to be like pretty popular and big in the next 5 to 10 or so years.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody's going to get a jump on it. That's like with Bitcoin. Like a lot of people are getting into Bitcoin and things like that. So, I definitely like how art is progressing, but like how you said, it should have a balance between like traditional and digital. So it's not just all digital. There's some like physical aspect to it, like how you said before. Now,
Right.
how would you define success?
Oh, thank you.
No, I was saying, how would you define success?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I thought you were saying I hope you find success. I guess like how do I define success? I don't know. That's like a hard question too, because it's like very subjective for everybody, I guess. For me, I'll say that I don't know, it's very going back to all those things about emotions. Like for me, success is when I put my art out there, and I get feedback from people such as like you make my day, or you like make me feel very happy inside or very warm inside, you know. Like
Right.
that for me, that's the whole reason why I do this, more so that obviously like making money and like making a name out of myself. But I guess like for me, it's more that emotional connection that I get to have with people.
Hmm.
Um, and like just, I guess like now that I am living in a foreign country, I will say success for me will be in terms of like people getting to know that Colombia has this amazing talent of artists
Right.
that are trying to like be more visible and trying to tell our stories in like a different country, and at the same time like making Colombia understand that what we do is so valuable and like so um I don't know, extraordinary, and that it should be well paid, and like the industry should be more like developed, and like that we can, that it's like a profession that like you can make a life out of it, you know.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. That's the thing, is being passionate at what you do and things like that. So as long as it makes you happy, you don't have to work a day in your life. So that's just the entire
that's
thing
true.
with that. Now, last but not least, before we end the interview off, where can people find you on social media and how can people support your work?
Well, you can find me on social media. My handle Instagram, it's Nats and Me. I guess I have a website that I haven't uploaded in so long, but it's nataliacardona.com. But yeah, I will say Instagram is where I have been putting most of my like newer work, where I've been like trying to really build my community, where I like, I don't know, talk to people through DMs. So like if anybody wanna like join my page, and if you ever wanna like talk to me, I'm like super open to do that and give feedback to anybody that needs to, because I have always reached to artists to do so as well. So yeah, those are mostly the two channels where people can find me lately.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Natalia, for jumping onto the show. Your work is absolutely great. I love the positivity and the bright colors you add into your work. I love the whimsicalness as well. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your story. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, asiaticbird.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care and stay beautiful.